Yo, what is going on, everybody? Hopefully you guys are having an absolutely amazing day whenever you're seeing this video. Really important video that we're going to go ahead and upload here. And it's going to be answering that question of, is it still worth it to invest into Axie Infinity? And I'm not just referring to the cryptocurrencies that are associated with Axie, but we're just going to be, diving into this and really just answering a couple of the common questions when it comes to somebody who might be brand new looking to get involved in the space. And I do want to go pretty in depth on this, but keep this video relatively short. And at any time, you guys can check out the timestamps below at the bottom of this video if you'd like to skip ahead. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. All right, so first things first, I just want to go over some of the common questions often I'm asked as someone who's been involved in the Axie space for a little while now. For those of you that don't know, this is something that I've been involved in, and not only playing, but also kind of making this a business opportunity where passive income streams are possible through team management. I've been doing all this since July of this year, which is 2021. One of the biggest questions is, how profitable is Axie Infinity? Is it really something that's worth diving into? Has it already blown up to a point where now it's starting to kind of die off? Where are we at in terms of profitability? So we're gonna be answering that question. Another common question I get asked is, how difficult is it to actually get started? Okay, we'll be addressing that. And lastly, how much does it actually cost to get started? So these are a few different questions that we're going to be answering today. We're going to be looking at some of the numbers as well in terms of ROI potential. But before we dive into all of that, none of this is financial advice. Always do your own research. Feel free to check out some of the resources I'm going to be providing in the description for some more independent research, and feel free to stay tuned on the Traders Paradise channel as well for everything that you need to know about getting started and really diving deep into the Axie Infinity realm. All right, so we've got the FAQs up on screen here, and I want to start out with, question number one. And that being, is it actually still profitable to get involved in the Axie Infinity community? So in a second here, I'll pull up a screen to showcase the Axie Infinity roadmap. So here on screen, we actually have the roadmap and some of the completed milestones of Axie Infinity. And before we dive into kind of the real, true numbers here of whether or not this is an ideal and worthwhile investment for anybody watching this video, okay, we just got to take a step back and really think about where we are in terms of development. So for those of you that don't know, this is still in a very early stage of development as a game. Okay, you guys can see that throughout 2020 and 2021, there's been a lot of really great developments, but we haven't even gotten to the full-fledged release of Axie Infinity yet. This is still a alpha to beta version of the game, so it's still very early, and I think that's just something to keep in mind when you think about whether or not it's something that you want to invest into. Just looking at current prices of the cryptos associated with this game as well, AXS is currently valued around $135 per coin, and we have SLP. This is the cryptocurrency you actually earn in game through casual play, valued at around 7 cents American, which we're going to break down some of the numbers with, how much SLP you can realistically make per month playing just as an individual. Okay. And we're also going to talk about what it means to be a manager. What are the different ways that you can actually go about producing an income from diving into Axie Infinity. So let's go ahead back over to the whiteboard and discuss this. So here we have a list of ways to earn in Axie, and the main one is, of course, just through playing the game. Whether it's casually or competitively, you can be earning SLP through playing in either of the adventure or arena game modes. At a minimum, just playing the adventure game mode and doing the daily quest, you can be generating 75 SLP per day. But honestly, that's kind of on the low side, at least from my experience of playing and also managing managing some different Axie teams, and we'll show those numbers in a little bit here. Another way that you can go about earning with Axie Infinity is becoming an Axie manager, and this is where you own more than 3 Axies. Maybe you have 6 Axies or 9 Axies and a total of 2 or 3 different teams, and you're outsourcing those teams to be played by other people, and you're doing some sort of a profit split. Maybe it's 50-50, maybe it's 60-40. All right, obviously that's up to you as the manager, but this is actually what got me super excited about Axie Infinity, and I'll break down the numbers very soon with you guys. In addition to this, there's the competitive aspect of Axie Infinity. If you're looking to become a pro player, or someone that's playing competitively, playing Axie at a competitive level, all right, you can actually be earning AXS rewards in addition to SLP based on the seasons that are hosted every once in a while on Axie Infinity, where players are competing to rank the highest and have the highest rating at the end of a season. And last but not least, there is breeding to take into consideration as well. Now, breeding is a fairly deep topic to dive into. We're not going to dive into it too deeply today, but just understand that one major way to earn is not just through playing, not just through outsourcing teams to other people and doing a profit split. It's also through generating more Axies, right? As there's more players coming into the game, there's going to need to be more Axies. So breeding is something that's really interesting as well. So that's another way to produce an income. But with that being said, let's go ahead and look at some of the numbers based on casual play and what it actually looks like to be an Axie manager. So since I started out in Axie, the date was kind of like mid to late July of 2021. I went ahead and I made a, pretty much a spreadsheet tracking all of the SLP claims that I've had from playing the game. So I'm able to kind of track throughout here, not just what I've been able to earn personally, but also the scholars that I have playing on some of my teams. In total, throughout that period of time playing, since July to now the beginning of November, we have a total of just under 43,000, just over 43,000 SLP generated. And as you guys can see here, total manager, this is after the profit split, what I've been able to take home from playing Axie Infinity and outsourcing teams is just under 30,000 SLP. Now, on average, okay, there's a website here that allows you to track the SLP that you're earning per day. And I do have all of my different scholar accounts in here, but even just focusing on my personal account, I do have 40 energy, so I'm able to play for twice as much as the average player with just 3 Axies. All right, so we'll take the averages here in daily SLP and just cut them in half. So overall, if we were to just look at my average SLP, it's about 244 SLP per day. For the average player, again, it's probably going to be about half of that. So we'll say, 120 to 150 SLP per day. That's fairly average. So on a monthly standpoint, if we go to the, kind of overview here, just since my last SLP claim, which was actually earlier, it's only been like 2 or 3 days. At the end of this next period in which I'm able to claim SLP, in 11 days, it's forecasting that I'll be able to claim about 8,000 SLP, which is total just under $600 US. At the end of 30 days, we're looking at close to double, and that'll be around 1,200 USD. Now, this is before the profit split, but pretty nice in terms of numbers. Now, the only thing that you, of course, need to be considering here, and one of the questions we're going to answer right now is, what is the cost to actually get started? Because, these numbers are great, but how much does it cost to get into a position where you're doing these types of numbers, right? Now, this is cumulative across all of my managed accounts. So let's go ahead and jump over to the marketplace, and I just want to cover what the average cost to get started is on Axie Infinity. All right, so here we are on the marketplace, and as of right now, you guys can see that there are about 400,000, close to 500,000 Axies that are listed for sale, and you guys will see that These are all listed in Ethereum and US dollar prices. So at the very minimum, you could look to buy an Axie team for, let's say, 350 to 400 US dollars. Now, that might not be the most ideal thing to do, just because in order for you to be making a good amount of SLP, you need to have a good team. So not to say that these Axies aren't necessarily good, but there is a strategy side to it. So I would say, just from my experience, the best kind of start out price, again, not financial advice, but something that you could look to do if you have the capital, is buy a better team for, let's say, 900 to 1,200 US dollars, and be in a position to be making a really good amount of SLP just based on how good your team is. More on that in future videos. We're gonna dive deeper into what it means to build a proper team. For perspective, let's just say you don't have that budget, 900 to 1,200. You could start out by buying just a floor Axie team and seeing, what kind of numbers you're able to do. I would say, again, average that I've spent on a team is usually between 600 to 1,200 USD. Another thing to also keep in mind is, if you can't afford to get started playing right now, buying your own team, there are scholarship programs that you can apply for where other managers are able to provide you with 3 Axies that you can play on and do a profit split. So there's 2 sides to that, right? You can be a manager where you have a bunch of different Axies that you're outsourcing, or you can be a scholar where you're playing for free. You didn't have to invest anything to start playing, and you're doing a profit split with that Axie manager. Again, average price, we'll just give it this range, 500 to 1,500 to get started. And if these are the numbers that, on average, you can be looking at per day, let's say 100 to 140 SLP, that, let's just do the math real quick, right? If that's about $9 US, okay, and there are, we'll just round that up to 10, right? $10 US at current price. At the end of a 30-day period, you would have generated $300. So on the low end, you've already paid for half of what you initially invested, assuming you invested 500. And on the higher ends, right, if you invested 1,500, you've already paid off a quarter of that, right? 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, sorry, 20% of that. Okay, just something to really think about. And at any time when you're buying Axies, if you decide that you don't want to play anymore, you can sell the Axies back on the market. So I like to look at it as, maybe my team hasn't paid for itself yet, but I can just sell my team at any point and walk away with $300 profit in SLP. It's not a very time-consuming game. It's something that takes maybe about 1 hour to 2 hours to play per day and be generating these types of numbers. Yeah, in terms of numbers, hopefully that gives you guys a bit of perspective. And as we already, talked about, right, the roadmap, we're still very early in development. There's still going to be land gameplay. It's not just going to be PvP and PvE in the format that we're used to. There's a lot more on the way. But ultimately, to come back to this question of, is it worth it to invest into Axie Infinity, right? We've already answered that question of, is it profitable? Okay, longer term, yes, absolutely. Even in the medium term to short term, I would say yes. Is it hard to get started? No, it's not too difficult, right? You guys can follow along with some of the tutorials on this YouTube channel. How much does it cost to start? We've answered that as well. I would say between 500 to 1,500. It's a pretty big range, but again, it depends on what you're looking to do. What is your goal? I think that's something that you really need to define before diving into the Axie Infinity realm. But the numbers that you can be doing on Axie Infinity can be quite substantial, especially if you go down the manager pathway. So with that being said, check out some of the links that I've gone ahead and put down below in the description. Let me know in the comments any questions that you guys have. Look forward to future Axie Infinity content. If you want to see some more, feel free to subscribe, hit that like button if you enjoyed, show some love. I appreciate it in advance. And with that being said, I'm gonna catch you guys very soon. Peace out.